Yeah, I was really pleased with the way that we played this past weekend against Illinois. Obviously, some weather did its best to interrupt the weekend, and we're able to get the game on Sunday, unfortunately. But I was really happy with the way the guys played. We pitched it really well. Illinois was a really good team, always very well coached. And to go out and to take two wins, obviously one with the walk off home run, and then on Saturday with the no hitter. I thought offensively we performed well after I got through the first time through the lineup, and I was just really pleased. So now it's on to a really important practice week for us, and I know that's we talk about that a ton, but it's just incredibly important for us to get prepared to go play Northwestern, who's really offensive and playing well. So looking forward to that challenge.
All right, Carl, and then John.
Coach, Braden Tucker's performance has improved dramatically over his past three outings. Will you be looking to him in higher leverage situations going forward?
Yeah, Braden's been a really good pitcher for us in the past. Started on the weekends for us last year. As his velocity continues to increase, the stuff has played up, and he's played a much more significant role. We've always had confidence in him. Coach Parker has a ton of confidence in him, and he'll continue to throw those kind of leverage innings. There's several guys in that mid to late inning range that we really believe in, have done a really good job. So yeah, he'll be a guy that we'll go to more and more. And honestly, going to Tucker in that situation after McCade was Coach Parker's call. We had a couple guys in mind, and I just kind of said, ultimately, you're watching these guys, you're calling the pitches. You do what you think is best, what profile is best, and he thought the sinker would be a really good play against them, kind of with their swing designs, and he was right, and it played really well in Tucker's stuff. I think his average velocity was 91.2 for the night for those four innings, which is really good for him. So as he continues to grow continue to improve, he's going to get more and more opportunities. But yeah, that was a real statement from Tuck, and we were all very happy for him. He works really hard.
John, and then Griffin.
Just wondering about the lineups. I mean, I think you've had as many as 5 freshmen in at one time. I know you talked last week about not having midweek games. I mean, in terms of the youth, but then also the depth that you have with this team, and how much of a challenge has it been mixing lineups, trying to get guys in with get some experience? Like, how much of a juggle has that been this year?
Yeah, it's hard. It's a challenge. I'll be honest with you. You try to take all the information that you can. You're looking at matchups, you're looking at swing and miss, you're looking at foul ball rates, but the sample sizes are small. And then you find yourself still going back to even some of the really old school techniques, like who took a good round of BP today. Who do you feel like's in a good frame of mind? Who scrimmaged well? Who was good in the coach pitch scrimmage? There's not a ton of a great sample sizes to pull from to be able to say, hey, this is what we need to do. So you're trying to put guys in. We've tried really hard, and I hate juggling the lineup, and I'm like I'm the antithesis of that, except that's the one thing that I've done a lot of is juggle the lineup. And so it's easy for me to say it, but I haven't done it. I don't like doing it, but at the same time, when you don't know exactly what you have, you're trying to put guys in positions to be successful, to get them off to a good start, and then you can expand their role. But like you said, without having the midweek games, and you do the best that you can, but when the lights turn on, guys are different, and I wish they wouldn't be. Some guys are able to really elevate themselves in the moment, and some guys are not. And so you don't know until the lights are on and you're in the moment and you're playing the games. And then you also have to understand that, I have to understand that we do have a lot of young guys. And even the young guys are separate from the older guys that haven't played baseball in a year. And so there's going to be some failure. So how much failure is enough failure? How much failure is a trend line, or it's just like a momentary thing? And so putting all those pieces together, it's really hard. Once we kind of settle, we try to settle and move in that direction. You look at, Morgan Colopy is a guy that has been a rotational piece for the most part to the last kind of 2 weekends, where you could just kind of see him starting to go a little bit more. He was really dominant against left-handed pitching, and we kept him in against some righties in situations, and he's started to hit against righties as well, and he started to carve himself a larger role. So in those ways, kind of trying to get guys in, but then once we get them in and kind of find our lineup, we need to keep it as consistent as we can. but it is hard.
Griffin, and then back to Carl.
Yeah, Coach, I know you mentioned after Friday, Colin's one of the best guys that you've ever coached in an IU uniform. And then, he goes out and catches the no-hitter the next day as well. Outside of the diamond, as one of the older players on the team, what's kind of his impact on the clubhouse? And also what's his impact on the pitchers? I've seen multiple times this season after a pitcher's having a rough outing, he'll go over and talk to them.
He's a great dancer. I think that's the first thing he brings in. And if you watch him in the clubhouse, he's a terrific dancer. No, he's got a really jovial personality. He's very lighthearted, very supportive of his teammates. Colin's a guy that's had to work for everything that he's had. The consummate guy, he's had to earn it, and so he can relate to everybody. So he's gone from a non-performer to a starter, and so he can really relate across the board to the young guys that struggle, to the freshmen that are trying to earn their way in and earn their time and are disappointed with their roles, to the guys that are starting and are having great success. He's like a chameleon. He can go into every different part of the group and be relatable, which is an incredible talent and an incredible skill set to have. And you have to earn that. You have to go through the ups and downs. That's a tough road, to be able to be that relatable. But he does it, and he cares tremendously about those around him, because at some point he can be empathetic to know he was in those positions. He cares so much about the group. He cares so much about the group's success. And ultimately, I really do believe that there are a couple of guys that you ever coach that care more about the group's success than their personal success. Now, they don't want to fail, but they want the group to succeed. That's their main mission. And that's what Colin is. And so people respect that. His job, he knows, is to go out there and help the pitching staff to perform to the best of their abilities. If he's able to do that, anything he brings us offensively is gravy. But if he goes out and is able to emotionally support and physically support a pitching staff to allow us to be as good as we can on the mound, then the win above replacement for him is going to be in the positive. He's going to be a really productive player. So you'll see him go put his arm around guys. He wants to catch bullpens. He's talking to him all the time, like, you're pulling off your slider, get on top of that, stay through that. That's a good pitch. That's not a good pitch. When he comes from the bullpen, he tells Coach Parker the guy doesn't have his slider today, or changeup's a better pitch, or no fastball coming in. All those things he's able to communicate during the middle of the game. Justin will ask him, what pitch do you like here? Here's your 2 pitch options. You call one you like. What do you see? I mean, he really is like a coach. There's a lot of communication strategically to be able to call a really good game. He's made himself into an elite receiver. He's made himself into an elite blocker. He's improved his throwing tremendously. He's just been a great representation of the program. But it's not just because he's a nice kid, and he is a nice kid who's a great dancer. It's because he's really intelligent. He's very smart. He's very selfless, and he's a great communicator with Coach Parker.
Carl, and then John.
Your pitching has given up only 9 home runs so far on the season. Northwestern has hit 45 of them. So how is Coach Parker and the pitchers preparing for those power bats?
Well, I think part of the profile for us from a pitching standpoint is being able to throw to the profile of the pitcher. So it's hard to get a sinker up, and it's hard to get a fastball at 94 at your belt up without swinging through it. So you got to do what you do to the success that you've had in the past. So, Gabe Bierman's hard to get. He's hard to elevate. John Meduni's hard to elevate. Braden Tucker's hard to elevate. Tommy Summers hard to get on time with. Ty Bothwell and McKade Brown are hard to get on top of. And so you've got guys with the opposite ends of the spectrum. And so you have to throw to those things, and then you have to attack the holes in their swings. I've looked at some of the swing and miss rates, which are across college baseball are high, but they have some swing and miss rates in there. And respectfully, they've had a really, really good offense. You can't miss your spots, but there are some holes that you're going to have to be able to get to, just like on our offense. There are holes that guys are trying to get to. You got to get to the holes, but at the same time, you can't change your profile. You have to be who you are, and you have to be able to locate to the zones that you locate to that don't get elevated or don't get hit well when they're elevated. So I think it's a combination of both. when in doubt, be able to locate the pitch that you're able to locate to your profile, and ultimately, the vast majority of the time you'll have success. But then if you're going to go to a hole, you got to get to it, because if you don't, that window is the size of a basketball. And then right next to that cold zone is a really hot zone. And so if you get to it, if you're going to go after it, you better get to it. It's just like with 2 strikes, you'll see it every now and then with 2 strikes, we'll go fastball in. But if he's right-handed, we have the center fielder shifted over and down, right fielder shifted over and down, the left fielder stays home to keep the left field line covered on the hook ball. But every now and then you try to go fastball in and left center is exposed, and a guy puts a ball in the gap in left center. It's like, where is the outfield at? Are they even, on the field? And so if you miss a spot in those situations, they can do damage. So we have to throw to our profiles, and we also have to try to get to holes, but you got to commit to that pitch. You can't be afraid to get in or get up, because you're worried about the damage, because as soon as you are worried about that, you miss a spot and you get hit.
John, and then Griffin.
You were mentioning Morgan Colopy earlier. Just him as a freshman, again, like being able to kind of carve out a niche. I mean, how has he been able to do it? I mean, have you seen it like in BPs like you were talking about? Like how has he kind of handled, kind of not getting playing time, getting more playing time, and kind of establishing himself?
Yeah, I've known Morgan a long time. When I was at Wright State, he's from Centerville, which is there in the Dayton area. So I followed him a long time. He's always been a really hard worker. He's always been a really talented player. He was a really talented high school player and could do it all. It was just some of the in-game application. He had to play and play and play and play. And that's kind of been the story for Morgan this year, from when he transferred in last year, and spent some time with him last spring, kind of trying to get on the same page from the mechanic of the swing. Then once we were able to get on some of the same page mechanically, trying to get on the same page as far as like how to have at bats, how to handle your emotions. He knows now, but guys just don't know how hard it is emotionally, like how hard it is day in and day out to play the game at this level, to play at a national level every day, to show up. And so that's an adjustment. And to have guys, when we're practicing, like we scrimmaged yesterday, I don't think there was a pitch thrown under 90 for 9 innings. It's like every pitch is 90 to 92, 94, and just be able to compete at that level. So the big thing for Morgan was his confidence, and to believe that he was capable of showing up and competing at this level every day, regardless of the success or failure that he had, that eventually he was going to be able to do it, and that he was more than just a power guy. He has the ability to play the game in all areas. He's got a plus arm. He's a good runner. He's a really good defender. He made several nice catches in right field this weekend that he made look easy, but as the outfield coach, they're not easy catches. That ball, we had the bases loaded, I think, in the second. The Jackson kid hits a long fly ball to right field at the base of the wall in right center. And Morgan makes it look like a really easy routine catch. It's a twilight high fly ball deep. That's not an easy play, and he did that. So, and then offensively, he has incredible power. He's got power like very, very few people have ever seen in person. I've not seen the kind of things he can do in BP, but he had to know and focus himself on being a complete hitter. You just don't get many pitches to hit that you can hit like that. You got to be able to hit the ball over the field and situationally and with 2 strikes. And so he's continued to mature, and he's gotten a lot tougher. Not that he's not a tough kid, but just the emotional resilience to be able to keep coming back and back and back and battle and fail and strike out and do all those things that you don't do in a training environment, and then to respond and recover and be able to get right back in there. He had a really good day in the scrimmage yesterday, and obviously had a great weekend, and I'm really proud of him. He's done a heck of a good job and has come a long way, and he's just beginning his career.
All right, we got 3 more: Griffin, John, then Carl.
Yeah, Coach, just wondering, on Sunday being canceled, are you guys going to try to make that up potentially later in the season? How important is that? I know you've talked about, it's going to be tough with the NCAA tournament, making it in this year just with only playing Big Ten games.
Yeah, we're definitely going to try to make it up. Coach Harleb and I have been in conversation about that. So we're going to do the best that we can to make it up, whether it's against each other or against another opponent. If someone else loses a game, it stinks. Those things really stink. I'll always try to err on the side of caution. These guys have careers, obviously in college and hopefully professional baseball. And I want to win. I want to play. I want to win the Big Ten. Everybody does. But it's not worth the risk of a guy's career. We have to be really careful. We have to be good stewards of their careers. And I would expect that of my coach. So we try to do that for them. But it is disappointing to lose a game. So we'll try to make it up. We've got stipulations and bylaws in place to cover that in case it happened. Try to make it up with the common opponent. We'll try to make it up with a separate opponent if someone else loses a game. And then third, we can try to work in a midweek game if possible, if we can make it work with the class schedule. So Dan and I have already been in conversations about it, and we'll try to do that moving forward. Yes.
John and Carl.
You guys posted a video of Tank Espelin's, 14 pitch at bat. I mean, I know we were talking about his defense over the weekend, but what does that say about him as a player offensively, that he's able to hang in there like that and just hanging in general? I mean, he just started to get playing time now. I mean, what have you seen from him through this process?
It's been a really good week for Tank. Again, you go back to the midweek stuff with us scrimmaging, you could just kind of see some flashes of some things maybe last midweek that I hadn't seen much of before or hadn't seen in a while. And sometimes it just takes guys time to get their feet under them and be able to kind of settle in and get comfortable and kind of assume more of their role. And if you look back at, we'll often talk about Grant Richardson. It took him a month to be able to get in and do some of these things. And that's about where we're at right now. And so you're seeing some of those young guys. Tank's play a lot of really high level baseball. Probably as much or more than anybody on the team, probably more than anybody on the team is certainly coming in. Just the area that he's from, at the high school that he went to, the circuit that he played on, he's just played a level and experienced baseball in a different way than the Midwest kid has. And so that's kind of the things that you see in the moment. He was able to really elevate himself and have an incredibly competitive long at bat. He's very under control. I guess that when I go back and look at that, and shout out to our sports information team. They did an incredible job with those videos. I got several phone calls and texts on compliments on those. But the thing that really struck me as I go back and look at it was just his calmness. There wasn't frantic. He's really calm takes, really quiet takes, really competitive. Obviously, tip fouling balls off. Not gonna take a borderline strike through call. And then he takes the ball forward like it was like, yeah, it was my plan all along. And it was just interesting to see because you just don't know. I mean, if we knew, if I had a crystal ball, I'd rub it before every game and every call would be right. And we wouldn't have to mess with all the ambiguity, but I didn't know. I just needed to see it in a practice and see it in a scrimmage and see it in a game. And he went and did it. But then you watch, Colin pops the bunt up, unfortunately. Well, they drop it. And then you watch Tank like a bullet go first to third. I don't think I've ever seen Tank go first to third that fast. And he gets around third base and that's his call. He goes home, almost like he baited the second baseman knowing he couldn't throw it that far and takes home. It was just a lot of really savvy, smart, intelligent plays in succession from him that you could just feel in the dugout, the excitement around it. It was like, what's he going to do next? And what's going to happen now? And that was very exciting. And there were several of those young guys that I felt like kind of brought that, Kip did a really good job. Two strike, 2 out, big time hit for us, big time hit. And then the next pitch, Morgan hits a 2-run homer. It's like, hey, what are some of these young guys going to do next? So it was a really fun night, but I was very pleased with Tank. And happy with that he was able to go out and just compete like that, just be calm and compete and give the team a chance to win. But he did a good job.
All right, wrap us up, Carl.
The circumstances have not allowed for Matt Litwicki to pitch in a while. Do you have any concern about the fact that he hasn't seen action in a few weeks?
He threw in a scrimmage yesterday and he was really, really good. It was terrific. Yeah, you don't like not having a guy like that be able to get into the game. We talked about putting him in at Michigan State a couple of weeks ago, it was 29 degrees and sleeting, and he throws 100 miles. We talk about he throws 100 miles an hour. Like he's got a career, and I didn't want to risk it. And outside of that, we haven't had a lot of opportunities to really get him in there. Now Friday he was up and hot, and he was coming in the 10th, no matter what. It was like we have to use Matt. We have an incredible asset with him, and to not use him for a couple of weeks is frustrating, not only for him but for us too. And so yeah, we got to find a way to get him in the ball game, even if it's a little bit of an unconventional situation. We used him a ton early. And we need to find a happy medium between throwing him 3 times a weekend or 2 times a weekend, back-to-back days, and then none in 2 or 3 weeks. So Matt was really sharp yesterday. Velocity was good. Stuff was good. Really accurate. I feel good about where he's at.